Flirt FM, Galway's alternative radio station.
You're listening to the Galway Gamer here on Flirt FM 101.3. My name is Owen Murphy and I am the Galway Gamer. And joining me on the line today is not only the voice of a classic character, but dare I say, the voice of a generation. Joining me on the line is Shelley Blond, who voiced Lara Croft in the original Tomb Raider game back in 1996. Shelley, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show today.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
It's absolutely fantastic to have you. Now, everybody knows Lara, everybody knows who Tomb Raider is. How did you first get involved in the Tomb Raider project?
Well, as you know, it was 23 years ago, and I was just starting out as a voiceover artist. I've been doing lots of musical theatre and TV, acting, performing for years. But I just started to get into the voiceover side of things. And my voiceover agent told me that they were looking, that IDOS and Core Design were looking for a voice for this character, Lara. And they'd been searching for 6 months. And you probably don't have a chance, but would you like to record a few lines of a script that they send you and, send off the tape? In those days it was cassette tapes, and see if they're interested. So, I just pop my tape in the recorder, pressed play and record, and just, reeled off a few of the lines that they asked. I think some were, welcome to my home. And I put them in the post. And a few days later, I had a request from my agent to do a conference call with several people. I think Nathan McCree was one of them, the writer of the music, the composer of the music. And just, again, I had to do a few more lines over the phone, and then I was told I got the gig. So for me, it was one of my very first gigs. And to know that they'd been looking for 6 to 9 months for the voice, and that I'd got it was quite an incredible feeling. That was a wonderful thing.
Excellent. And speaking of Lara's voice now, she's quite a character within the game, and the players themselves spend a lot of time with Lara from one end of the game to the other. But she's only actually got a handful of lines. I believe it drops in at under 20 lines. How do you inject that amount of personality into a character with so few lines?
Well, there wasn't actually, sadly for me, much personality to inject. I wanted to inject much more personality. I feel that I've got quite a big personality. I'm very emotive with my emotions, and I found that Lara wasn't at all. So whenever I wanted to put more feeling into a line, they would always say, "No, pull it back. She's very deadpan. She's very straight." So for me, I found it very hard to inject anything into the character. If anything, I had to pull back a lot just to keep her very welcome to my home. I think I'd better get out of these wet clothes now. Very, very staid. So it wasn't about injecting into. It was about removing.
We've seen Lara go through a lot of different phases throughout the years. I'm not sure if you've stuck with the franchise, but she's gone from the no-nonsense, as you put it, deadpan kind of superhero that she was in the original games to more of a gritty survivalist over the years. Which of these traits do you think suits the character best?
If I'm honest, I've never played the game, and some of the fans will know that, some won't. But I'm not really a computer buff, so I have no idea how to set up playing a game. But what I would say is that I am pretty sure that over the course of 23 years, the gaming itself has changed. The way a player plays it, the actual features in a game, and the way she can move and the things she'd be able to do and places she'd be able to go to have changed within a game. So I guess the character has to change with that. So, and they have to keep her updated. They have to listen to the fans, what the fans would like her to be more, inject a bit of that into it. So I guess it's changed hands, of course, from IDOS and Core to Square Enix. So I guess people want different things within the game. So I don't know how it's changed, but I'm sure it's changed fairly.
And you're not a gamer at all yourself then, Shelley?
Nothing. I mean, I can just about text and email. So I'm not a gamer. No, for me, I didn't even know how successful Tomb Raider and Lara still was after all this time until I joined Twitter. I think I joined 4 or 5 years ago, and it was only when I joined that I could see, wow, we had younger fans, people 20, 30 years younger than me, even more, that are huge fans of Lara, and it's incredible how she stood the test of time, and so many fans of the classic games only, but it's just wonderful how she has, even though I've never played her, I've really got no clue about the game, how she has touched people globally. It's affected people globally, and it's quite an incredible thing.
Well, let's talk about that popularity, if you will, because Lara exploded in the winter of 1996, and she was absolutely everywhere at the time.
Correct.
Now, this was following very closely in the footsteps to the phenomenon of the Spice Girls at the same time, and the rise of girl power. Would you reckon that there is a correlation there? Do you think that they aided one another?
I don't think so. I think they're separate entities. Yes, you've got 5 girls that were, really rocked the pop world, but no, I just think it all at the right time. The Spice Girls are what the kids needed at the time, the kids and the teens needed, and Lara was such a phenomenon to the gaming world. Anyone had seen a lead female before in a computer game. So she was quite special in that. The men loved her, even though she's a character, almost, in animation. The men loved her. They found her sexy, and they found it interesting to be able to get this woman to do whatever they wanted. But also the women could really, really identify with her. So, just like the girls could identify with the Spice Girls, every girl had a Spice Girl they could identify with. I don't know whether they aided each other. Not sure, but it's great that they came out at the same time, for sure. I remember going past newspaper stands out on the street and seeing, Spice Girls on the front of magazines, but also Lara Croft on the cover of Face. That's quite something, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Something, and of course I've got all those copies on my bookshelf.
Excellent, fantastic. Now, speaking of just how she's presented then in game throughout the years, not so much the first game, but throughout the years after that, Lara has gunned down dozens of men per game. She takes out soldiers and other artifact hunters, other Tomb Raiders. She kills men left and right. Do you think this could be perceived as sexist?
No, I don't. Didn't she take out Natla in the first game? I don't. I think someone's got to. Maybe I'm wrong about her taking out Natla. I'm pretty sure that she did. She could have or did. But I just think you've got to whoever the bad guy is, whether it's male or female, you've got to get rid of them. And if let's face it, they are usually mainly male, aren't they? Mm-hmm. But no, I don't find it sexist at all. What I do get upset with is what she wears, or the boobs, the size of the boobs, or that I find it unnecessary. That I would always query. Who she kills, no, don't bother me at all. But yeah, the size of the boobs and what she wears, that would concern me more.
That's fair. You'd probably be quite impressed with the latest variation of Lara Croft, then, which is very, very different, a much more realistic portrayal of a character, if you will, more realistic portrayal of a human, and also dresses appropriately for the weather that she happens to be in at the time. So
yes.
Being the voice of Lara Croft and Shelley, do you find that this puts any pressure on you as something of a role model on your day-to-day life? Like, for example, if someone you're working with or someone grew up with Tomb Raider and they're like, hey, that's Shelley Blond, Lara Croft, does that affect your life?
It doesn't affect me at all, but occasionally I will be working with a producer who says, I was looking at your details and I see that you're the voice of Lara Croft. can you just do a voice? And then I do a line, and they go, oh my gosh, and they freak out because they used to play it when they were younger. I meet all sorts of people at Comic Cons when I go to sign autographs and things for Comic Con. And the youngest girl I met was little Emily, and she's 6, I believe, 6 or 7, and you know, to know that somebody like her is such a huge fan of the game and a huge fan of Lara, and you know, has just started out on her journey of gaming. It's such a lovely thing. Role model, no, but it's lovely to know I've been part of people's histories and childhood. People playing games with their, you know, some guys play games with their father, and their father is no longer with us, so they have memories of playing the game with their parent who's now no longer with us, and that's a very special memory for them. People that were very bullied at school, or felt like outcasts, and they would spend their time, you know, getting away from it all by playing this game, and it would take them out of themselves and things like that. It's very, very special to hear. Very special for me.
That is absolutely incredible. That's amazing to hear. Well, considering the size that Lara has become over the years, then, and all from that launch pad in the 1990s, in 1996, with that original game, she sold millions of copies. She had countless games. She's had 3 movies, as you mentioned earlier on. She was doing cover of Face magazine. She toured with U2. She'd even had her own Barbie, in fact. Were you ever expecting her to be that big? Were you expecting her to become that icon?
No, you know, when they did the first game, they said, listen, we don't know how well it's going to do. We've only ever done kids' games before, so we have no clue, but we'll see, you know, and if it's a success, maybe we'll do another game. We'll see how we go. And it just blew up. You know, I didn't have a clue. They certainly didn't have a clue. And it's just incredible that, you know, how many games she sold worldwide, how many people it appealed to, how many people the game and Lara appealed to, and the fact that 23 years later, you know, it's still so loved worldwide.
Would you consider reprising the role if they were to do a remaster?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, to go back to the classic. Yeah, go back to the original voice. I'd love to do it. They asked me, I can't remember, to be honest, which game they asked me back for. They asked me for the second game. I couldn't do it. I was contracted to something else. But I allowed them to use my voice on the second and the third game. I think they got Judith Gibbons to voice, but they used all my sound bites from the original game. But they asked me to come back for the one, forgive me for not knowing which one it was, but Keeley Hawkes ended up doing it, that game.
Anniversary, perhaps?
Yes. And they weren't sure whether they wanted to use me, or they weren't sure whether they wanted to go back to the original voice and the classic style, or go for a celebrity name. And they hummed hard for a long time. And then they went for the name. They went for Keeley, who's got a gorgeous voice. I love her voice. And you know, but of course, if they asked me, I'd be there like a shot. Would love to return to that role. Love it.
As an old school gamer, that is absolutely great to hear. I've got to say.
It's been so much fun hosting the, you know, Nathan McCree's musical concert, the Tomb Raider Suite. It's been so nice to host that as the original voice. You know, present his evenings with the Philharmonic Orchestra playing the music, and me coming on every now and then explaining the piece of music. That's been an incredible thing to really touch base with fans and to hear the music in its entirety, and that's been magical for me.
And that leads us to pretty much our last question here, Shelley, and that is, after all these years, what does Lara Croft mean to you?
To me, you know, as a voiceover artist, you go in, you do a gig, and you leave it there. It's with me because I've heard so much about what she's meant to other people, what she's meant, as I said, you know, children playing in their bedrooms with a parent, the parent teaching them how to play computer games, and therefore created this lovely bond with their parent that they might not have had before. Some had difficult relationships, but when they played games, they both came alive together. And it's what she's meant. It's the effect that she's had on other people, their childhoods, for me. That's what's so special for me. Not necessarily Lara herself or the game herself, because as I say, I'm not a gamer, but just to know how it's affected people's lives, how she's affected people's lives, and the comfort she's brought, or the excitement she's brought, or the joy she's brought. That to me, and I see that when I go to Comic Cons, when I manage to speak to fans over Twitter, I can see that, and it's such a wonderful thing. So that's what it means. That's why I'm so proud to be a part of the Tomb Raider history, because of what it means to other people.
That's fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Shelley, thank you very much for coming on the show today. How can people keep in touch with you?
On Twitter, @Blonde Shelley, BLONDSHELLEY. I'll always love to hear from people, and I always answer. So, but thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
It's been fantastic to have you on. Thank you very, very much.
And a thrill to be on your airwaves.
Once again, Shelley, thank you very, very much. You're listening to the Galway Gamer here on Flirt FM 101.3.
101.3 Flirt FM.